all the doom and gloom going on about, Russia threatening war, but we also have something that's actually good. Israeli PM rapid back to two-state solution of Palestinians. So basically, if you have been living under a rock or, have lived in North Korea or you're in North Korea and you've been exposed to the outside world for the first time, well, yeah, Israel and Palestine basically have been at war since their creation. Okay, the original was the original solution was to basically split, an Arab state and a Jewish state. Okay, and of course, this is the current amount of land, which means the Israeli state, which, yeah, this is a very, 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 very complicated area, but one of the world's oldest wars will finally be over. One of the world's oldest wars will finally be over. It's one of the world's oldest wars that are still ongoing, of course. The other one being the Burmese Civil War, which has been ongoing, and basically means we'll have a new country in this world. Of course, a lot of countries already recognize Palestine as a country, but by the UN, it's not a UN member state. It is not a UN member state, which means Palestine is technically not a country because it's not part of the UN. The only country that has like a special case for that is, of course, the Vatican City, because everybody recognizes the Vatican City, but it's not technically a country, which means, yes, we'll be gaining a new country relatively soon if the two-state solution actually does come to pass. And there'll be no more war between Israel and Palestine. And yeah, which means Palestine can actually develop instead of having to fight wars against Israel every year. Which Israel is a developed country because it gets funding from Western countries. Jeez. But Palestine, of course, gets funding by Middle Eastern countries. But Israel is getting, but the Middle Eastern countries, of course, are not really that developed compared to United States, UK, and France. Comparing it to the countries that, funds Palestine as Jordan and Egypt and Iran, which, again, Iran is more worried about Saudi Arabia. Yeah. But yep, Israel and Palestine is one of the world's oldest wars. Okay. It's finally going to come in. And Israel will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from developing a nuclear bomb. But yeah, it seems that one of the oldest wars in the world will be coming to an end. And no, people say, but it's, people will say it's Joe Biden, but yeah, no, it's really, Prime Minister, not, Joe Biden. So I wouldn't be surprised if Democrats say it's because of Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden's biggest accomplishment. No, it is because the Israel Prime Minister does not like Iran and wants Iran to not make a nuclear weapon. So they want to end the whole thing because there's a bigger threat, which its name is called Iran. That's basically what they said in this article. But yep, of course, this guy, of course, is not in power yet because there was an election as well. Could return former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alongside the opponent of the two-state solution. So there was a possibility that one of the world's worst and deadliest wars and longest ongoing wars will soon end. As well. So we'll wait to see what happens. So yeah. So this is the guy who is, I think he's the current Prime Minister of Israel. But again, he might put the same doing this stuff to get elected. A lot of, that's how politics works. But if this new Prime Minister of Israel actually does something, well, then one of the world's oldest wars will be, oldest ongoing wars will as well. But also Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the opponent of it. So yeah, the whole thing will be, do we want to end the Palestine war or do we want to continue it? That's going to be the election because the other guy is still running. You know, how old is Benjamin Netanyahu? I want to see this. How old is he? Okay, he is 72. And according to Israel's polling system, Benjamin Netanyahu is set to win. But again, it was still 1 month in as well. You know, Israel is it's Israel. It's Israel. But yeah. And yeah, Israel won this election similarly to the United States. So it's not the person who gets the most votes. Well, in the United States, it's whoever wins the most amount of electoral votes. Well, it's basically whoever wins the most states really wins, okay? It's whoever wins the majority of the states basically wins. But in Israel, it's very much like every other European country, basically Canada, Australia, India, where your political party has to own a majority of the parliament in the country to win the election. But if the opposition wins, well, yeah, basically, as well. And yeah, it didn't obtain a majority in 2021. Israel has like an election every year. I didn't realize this. But yeah, Netanyahu does have the majority party, but if the other political party wins, which there was a chance of winning, the world's longest and most ongoing war will soon come to an end. That's basically this video. Goodbye.